Distinguished participants of TIJ-Harvard Workshops, ladies and gentlemen, I am grateful for another opportunity to be with you, the emerging leaders, and to share with you some thoughts on the concept of the rule of law. I want to give you some gist as to why I personally think that the rule of law is important and how it has motivated me over the past 30 years of my career. I often say that the rule of law is crucial and that most reform efforts, including the ones under the new Sustainable Development Agenda of the UN or the so-called UN SDGs, will not be successful without adequate attention being paid to the requirements of the rule of law. This indicates clearly, as shown in the Goal 16, Peace, Justice, and Strong Institutions among the 17 goals of SDGs. For the SDGs, Goal 16 on the rule of law does not only stand as a goal in and of itself. It also provides an enabling environment for the achievement of all the goals. What we are talking here is too big and too important to be left exclusively in the hands of the lawyers. In addition, it is an engagement which cannot be achieved by any one generation alone, particularly my generation. I say this based on my experience as a practitioner and a policymaker working on a number of reforms in Thailand for almost my entire career. In a nutshell, the rule of law provides a society with a clear sense of assurance that the use of coercive power by the government, the utilization of natural resources, and the promotion of economic development shall be for the benefit of everyone. The rule of law implies a sense of respect for human rights, non-discrimination, mutual interest, as well as effectiveness and due process when state agencies are to apply executive power. The rule of law creates conditions enabling an effective legal and operational infrastructure, and at the same time protects the rights and interests of all concerned. And to promote the rule of law, a country must also build a culture of lawfulness so that it brings about the atmosphere where all the members of the society are accountable to laws. We need this proper function of the rule of law if we want our society to enjoy peace and security, and for us to be able to cope with emerging threats such as crime and terrorism effectively. We need the rule of law in order to provide a conducive environment for social and economic development. We need the rule of law to ensure that the fundamental freedoms of individual members of society are protected and taken into account, especially in the policy-making process. In the past, most attempts to undertake rule of law reform has failed because of the narrow approach in limiting the scope of what the rule of law covers, insufficient political will and stakeholder participation, and the inability to accommodate the diverse perspectives that must be included for the rule of law reform to succeed. In my opinion, there exists the interrelationship between three important frameworks: the criminal justice system, the rule of law, and development, which provide perspective when we think about building a peaceful society, which is the foundation for all developments. One of the core functions of the criminal justice system, of course, is to ensure safety and social stability by responding to violence and crime. We all know that for society to be safe, we need to have laws in place to punish harmful actions, and we need competent and well-trained professionals in the criminal justice system to enforce these laws by detecting crimes, arresting and prosecuting suspects before the court, and providing rehabilitation opportunity for convicted offenders. But the law and criminal justice system alone may not be a suitable solution for violence and crime. Strict application of the law without taking into account the reality of people and understanding their condition and context can sometimes lead us further away from achieving fairness. Vulnerable groups such as women and children might become even more vulnerable when in contact with the justice system, especially when it fails to take into account their real and specific needs. Therefore, beyond the law, what we need the most is the rule of law in addressing crime and violence in a manner that ensures access to justice by responding to specific and real needs under certain circumstances and situations. Let us take a look at violence against women as an example to illustrate how gender perspective is key to building a peaceful society. Goal 5 of the SDGs call for gender equality with non-discrimination and an end to violence against women. Here, Goal 16 on the rule of law comes into play by providing an appropriate legal infrastructure to protect women against violence and non-discrimination. The rule of law is not only a matter of having the laws in place, it's also the way that the law and its implementation in reality understand and take into account the interests and concern of people, or in this case, women. The rule of law, access to development, and an inclusive society are interrelated and mutually reinforcing in our work on building a safer society and in achieving sustainable development. With this realization, SDGs provide us with a relevant framework to think about the criminal justice system and crime prevention, and to think about them in a more interrelated terms and in a wider context. Over the course of the next 6 days, you will all have the opportunity to hear from a number of eminent scholars, experts, and professionals who have in one way or another dedicated their careers and life to ensure that respect for the rule of law can be a fundamental tool in development in reality for everyone. These perspectives will help you make sense of the different phases of the rule of law and perhaps allow you to identify your focus in the effort to fine-tune the detailed operation of the rule of law. I hope they will also inspire you to find more ways to translate the rule of law from the realm of theory into actual practice. We have a very eventful week ahead of us with promises to be engaging and hopefully a platform for future actions. I believe one of the greatest strengths of this cohort is that you have all been carefully selected from different backgrounds, ranging from the government to the private sector, non-government organizations, and academia. With this sharing of our thoughts and experiences, we can make considerable headway in the quest to make the rule of law a more tangible reality in every corner of society that we live. Lastly, I want to end by leaving some questions for all of you to think about. First, how can we make the rule of law a reality for everyone? Second, in your specific capacity, how can you make sure the values of the rule of law are integrated into your work and make those who work around you and for you understand its values and importance? I want to urge you over the next several days to not only consider how you would answer these questions, but to also take this opportunity to come together and help unlock the different dimensions of the rule of law, to figure out the shortcomings and why we have failed in the past to integrate the rule of law into the development agenda, and help identify the pathways and solutions for moving forward. Today, you will have the opportunity to hear about the rule of law from a United Nations framework by Mr. Nicholas Booth, Program Advisor for Governance, Conflict Prevention, Access to Justice and Human Rights at the United Nations Development Program, or UNDP. Later this afternoon, you will hear from Dr. Royon Jitdon, Advisor to the Hydro and Agro Informatics Institute, who will be sharing his experiences on building a culture of lawfulness in Hoi Palot, Tak Province. Dr. Royon's case will shine a light on what the rule of law looks like in action, and hopefully serve as a blueprint for other initiatives as well. I look forward to hearing about your findings and experiences upon my return. Thank you and see you soon.